Body shot. Ooh, that hurt, didn't it?
When adrenaline starts pumping and you know what you can do with this right hand, it's hard to not do that.
Here are your hosts, Derrick G and AJ.
Ciryl Gane is your new interim heavyweight champion. What's going on, folks? Welcome back to another episode of the Bloody Water Podcast. I am your host, Derrick G. And listen, folks, we had some history in the making. We got definitely something shaking up in the heavyweight title picture, as I just mentioned. But, you know, I got to bring in my co-host, the New Mexico native, the Santa Fe bomber himself. Listen, AJ, what's up, brother? You went 1-4 on the picks. I think this is back-to-back weeks. I hit 3-2. Both of us had a little bit of a rocky start, but I need to ask you, first thing first, we're not even going to hit the main event yet, man. I got to ask you about something more personal to me. I was really hyped up about this Angela Hill-Tecia Torres rematch, as were you. The result was almost more one-sided than the original fight took place. The question that we need to ask before we break it down in detail, in depth a little bit later, do you think this is one of those cases where it's just mind wasn't in the game, man? You know, the lights were on, but nobody was home? Because those were the vibes I was getting. What do you think?
Yeah, man, those are the vibes I was getting too. It was like we were talking about in the show. If Angela Hill shows up, it's going to be a rough night. If Overkill shows up, it's going to be a lot of fun. And sure enough, yeah, we got the is it the latter or the former? We got the former of the two. So
yeah, we got something, man. It was definitely a rough night at the office for some of the, you know, near and dears over here, but we had a lot of really good action, a lot of good knockouts, a lot of submissions, and an overall really, really solid card, especially one that was marred by the cancellation or the rescheduling of the Amanda Nunes versus Juliana Pena women's bantamweight bout, man, or flyweight bout, either one of those two. But with that being said, like I said, folks, this is our little record recap. I am now 84-62 on the year. AJ is 67-79. And listen, man, I just want to let you know and get this thing out there early. Folks, next week, no UFC. Believe it or not, AJ, when's the last time we had a no UFC week? It's only been like a couple of weeks at this point, right? Normally, they pushing on strong. However, what's up?
Go ahead.
No, what's up?
No, I think it's always just for a holiday. I don't know if a holiday's coming up, but something funky.
Yeah, no, it's definitely something funky, but I think this leads me to a bigger question. This is something I wanted to ask you a couple weeks ago, man. Do you think, just off the top of the dome, I just thought of this right now, you think that the UFC has an issue with putting out too many bouts? Do you think every weekend is a little excessive? And I say that not because I don't like watching the fights. That's not why I'm saying it. I'm saying it because sometimes you can get just a kind of, you know, that was all right. You know, you got people fighting, got bodies in the building, but it ain't really like, oh my God, I'm hyped up. What do you think?
I think you could get to that point for sure. I mean, I think they got a talent pool deep enough to where, you know, they put out there's at least one banger on the card, so it kind of makes an excuse. But yeah, I can see sometimes it gets to that point for sure.
Well, we'll see. You know, when it's one of those bouts where you got like that one big headliner, kind of like a Bellator bout, right? You got the big headliner, then you got a bunch of so-so. You know, we really don't want to hit that point. But listen, the UFC does a pretty damn good job of keeping the big name events rolling. Like you said, they got a very deep roster. And all right, AJ, all the nonsense aside, let's break down some of the best photos of the weekend. What do you think? That sounds good, yeah?
Hell yeah.
All right, brother. So here, let me move over to a little bit of recap and see what we got first up on the screen, my man. All right, hold on. There we go. Okay. So, a little bit of a graphic image to start this thing off, man. What you see right there is, I took that photo myself. I would just, you know, take a picture of the TV and whatnot. That is Ed Herman's calf at the start of round 3 in his fight against Alonzo Menefield. And I think that the theme of this weekend, AJ, in part, was calf kicks, right? Whether it was intentional, whether it just happened to happen, calf kicks made a difference. They made an impact. And for the folks who are just listening and not watching this, you see what appears to be like a potato-sized indentation or a swelling of Ed Herman's shin that is kind of like permeating from his calf. That's how bad the calf was marred and just mangled and swollen up and whatnot. AJ, man, I'm going to ask you this. Would you rather take a one-hitter quitter from Francis Ngannou or have your leg looking like Ed Herman's by the time round 3 comes around?
Man, I'm going to take the one-hitter quitter, man. There was a period where I wasn't able to walk for 3 days, and I don't want to ever go back to that because you think that's a potato size. I think that's eggplant size, brother. That thing is middle of the knee to middle of the shin. Holy crap, man.
Yeah, that's definitely ugly, man. And so this is another question that we need to get to, and we won't. I mean, this is another photo that I'm going to post down in just a second. But Anderson Dos Santos versus Miles Johns, that was a very big matchup. That was another one where leg kicks were a big deal in that one. And there was at one point in the fight where Dos Santos was like, "Hey, I'm screwed. My leg is done." You know what I mean? And a lot of people, because he ended up getting knocked out and taken out on a stretcher post-fight, a lot of people were like, they should have just called it when he said my leg is done. Do you think we're going to start seeing more leg kick TKO victories, like people quitting on the stool because they're not willing to endure the pain?
Oh, I mean, it's kind of inevitable, isn't it? Like I don't think we've seen one yet. I don't think there's been a legitimate TKO leg kick finish. They've always been talking about it can happen, but I think it's inevitable, especially when you're not as savage as Ed Herman and you don't want that potato on your leg, man. Yeah, it's bound to happen for sure.
Yeah, there definitely have been leg kick stoppages in the UFC before, but not as of recently with this new wave of calf kicks, right? But let's move on to the next photo. So as I was talking about, man, picture perfect right there on the button. This is the Miles Johns knockout of Anderson Dos Santos, a real veteran, someone who's been in the game for a long, long time. And I just wanted to ask you your rating 1 to 10 on this photo, man. That is like one of the most perfect timing snapshots of a knockout punch you're probably going to see. Am I right?
Oh yeah, no, this is a perfect timing. You could even see he slipped the left coming in from Anderson Dos Santos. The only bad thing about it was on the prelims, so you can see right behind. There's not enough people in the crowd to be watching it. Didn't get to witness this chaos, and it's a little unfortunate for them.
Yeah, definitely, man. That was actually one of the critiques, I guess you could say, of the card overall. Is they're saying by the time the main card hit, they're like, "Yo, it's still pretty empty in there, man." Like people didn't roll around until like the Jose Aldo fight, which is, I mean, people who got money clearly, right? If you're willing to miss all of those fights. But before we move on, AJ, turn me down in your monitors just a little bit, my man. Okay, folks. So this was kind of a series of photos that I wanted to put out, but I wanted to ask you. What would you rather prefer, AJ? Do you want to see a man staring over his prey right there, staring over the clean kill that he just acquired, right? Would you rather see that, or would you rather see because there's another photo, I don't have it, but he's basically just like, when their back is turned to him and they just embracing the crowd, Valentina Shevchenko style, bowing and doing all that craziness. What would you rather have? Someone showboating like that, or someone just standing over you as you're halfway conscious waking up from the canvas?
Me on the canvas? I'd much rather the person be proud and doing to the crowd, man. Don't embarrass me staring over me like I'm a piece of meat, please.
That's what it looks
what
like,
about
though.
You, man?
I mean, I'd agree with you, man, because this is as primal as it gets, right? This is that just beast in you saying, like, listen, man, because after he was very kind of like humble and apologetic, even got down on his knees, was like, I hope he's okay and stuff. But in that flash moment, man, there's nothing. This is why the sport resonates with us so much, right, AJ? Is because this is like as gladiator style as it gets, man. If that man had a spear and that was just a downed opponent right there, got a spear through his chest, like that's not what we want to see today. But listen, man, I can definitely see how it appeals, man. And then this last photo from the collection. Listen, man, this is what I was talking about. Dos Santos, he gets stretchered out because I think that Johns, he had touched a ligament. He had just like compromised a ligament or something in his leg early on in the first round or whatever. By the time the second, he was basically compromised. And would you rather... I mean, in terms of longevity for your fighter, right? I'm taking your coach for a second, right? You're a coach of a high-level UFC athlete. Would you rather him take the pride hit, take the ego hit, and call it TKO? Hey, your leg's done. You're not going to be able to fight. We don't want to risk further damage, or end out on a stretcher and your knee all messed up like that. What do you think?
Oh, man, you got to pull them early. Especially they say their knee's not done. There's nothing worse than a big injury going forward, as well as this dude's going to be out. If it is a serious injury, a year and a half, that's a year and a half of profit, a year and a half of funds, training, all this stuff. Yeah, you gotta be safety first, man. Pull them early.
Absolutely, man. But this is the pride game, man. This is the hurt game, really, and this is the epitome of what represents the hurt game right there. But all right, man. In other news, AJ, here's another photo right here. Manel Kape. He's talking with DC. He's saying, Dana, give me the fucking bonus, bro. What are we talking about? You know what I'm saying? Like, he's cursing up a storm. ESPN had a hard time censoring all that stuff out. You know what I mean? But what was most impressive to me is that after missing weight by 3 pounds, not apologizing apologizing here. He apologized later on in the post show, right? But he decides, like, you know, I'm gonna go out, talk all types of crazy, get on my Conor McGregor, and guess what? I just got my fucking black belt after kneeing someone's face in. Makes no sense to me, AJ. Tell me what is the basis, because I honestly don't know, and I would like to talk to some real legit, like, BJJ professors. You feel me? Like someone who is top notch, triple, you know, degree, whatever, black belt or whatever, right? Well, how do you obtain your black belt? You've been training since you were a kid. You've been grappling since you were a kid. You have a 100% striking match, and then you decide, I'm going to give my pupil their black belt. What do you think goes into that?
I mean, I think in this instance, they were just going to give him his black belt if he won, no matter what. You know, it was regardless if they saw, you know, some actual legitimate skill or anything. I think the only time we've actually seen this where I was like, oh, that's legit, was when Tyron Woodley was able to get his off of the it was either Darce or an Anaconda. I forgot the choke that it was against Darren Till, but still he actually used Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu against him. And I don't have any jiu-jitsu skills at all, so I've never done that. But when I was getting my karate black belts, you know, you have to go through the whole test. You have to make sure. You have to do some sparring. They literally put you up against people who already are black belts, and you got to go out there and make sure, you know, you're of the caliber that can defend himself. So I would like to see that happen a little bit more than just we're going to give it to him regardless. You know, hey, brother, you won. Hell yeah. It's almost like a trophy, but, you know, not.
Yeah, I know. I feel you. I'm totally with you. You know what I'm saying? I think that it's just one of those things where, like, if it's really about the traditional aspect of what Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is, you should probably reserve it. You know what I mean? Or at least, like, give it to them behind closed doors. I get it. It's a big stage. It's your first UFC win. And listen, regardless of what the circumstances were, it was a very big win by Manel Kape. I mean, listen, the agony goes to Ode Osborne, but I'll tell you what, the man looked sharp when they were in there. I haven't seen two athletes faster in the cage than Manel Kape and Ode Osborne, man. But now it's something that's a little more humorous right here, AJ. That was humorous, but a little more humorous. This is a real-life picture of Rafael Fiziev chasing Bobby Green as Bobby Green is literally, like, running away, trying to evade, circle out. Listen, Bobby Green, man, Bobby King Green, he looked sharp. He lost the decision, but I'll tell you, that footwork is impeccable. That Philly shell is incredible. And Rafael Fiziev says, you know what, all your technical abilities aside, I'm just hungrier. I have a better chin, and I'm willing to walk through the fire more than you, and that's why he got the win. But how much of a character is this man? He called out Hezbollah after the fight too, man. He says, Hezbollah, you want the real money fight? Come fight with me, bro. Like this dude's hilarious, man. What do you think of this photo?
Oh man, this photo was great. The whole fight was great. Yeah, I think you can even see him in the middle of Fiziev giving him the Ric Flair woo as he's chasing him. Man, it was a show. It was a show. I really liked this fight too. It was a lot of fun watching it, man. And this picture highlights the fun it was, even though Bobby Green's getting chased.
Yeah, this is absolutely the featured prelim for a reason, man. It was a really, really good bout. And this next photo right here, to me, this is exuding confidence right here. This is a man saying, listen, man, I lost on the decision, but guess what? I gave y'all a show, and that's what I'm here for. I'm a showman, I'm an entertainer, and I know my boxing is up there with the best in the world, which is why he looked like he didn't even get in a fight, you know, when it was all said and done. But what does this mean for Bobby King Green, man? You know, I want to just kind of cover it right now. I mean, I think that's it's either back-to-back losses or it's like win-loss type situation for him right now. But what are his prospects in the lightweight division, man? This is a very tough division, and you can't be losing to Fiziev and then, you know, still think you got like real title aspirations coming up. What do you think?
Oh yeah, he's definitely started to become, and it's rough for Bobby Green because he's still young, old in the game, but still a young fighter that he's starting to really become one of those gatekeeper positions we talk about, especially, I mean, the 155-pound division is so deep that it's either you're top of the game or you're middle of the pack fighting as a gatekeeper for quite a while. We've even seen it with studs, you know, when Showtime Pettis was still in the organization, he was fighting at 155. He was still middle of the pack, kind of that bottom 10, but still middle of the pack. It's crazy.
Yeah, definitely crazy. But listen, the man is entertaining, and get him on another, high prospect level card or whatever you want to call it. But it's going to be fireworks, man. We already know that. This next one is just another continuation of this series, but it's just a tweet right here. This is Rafael Fiziev. He says, I am very happy. 15 minutes of love in the cage today without a condom. That is his symbolism of what that matchup was, man. He was so hyped up about it. You got to love these dudes who are trying to make an effort to be personable to the American fan base, especially when their grasp of English is very rudimentary. But it's adorable, right? It's one of those things. What do you think about this quote, AJ?
I don't know if I'd call hitting Raw Dog adorable, Derek, but no, I do love the fact that they're actually trying something. I know we talked about this in a couple episodes ago where I was saying that it wasn't Magomed, it was Islam Makhachev said he needs to learn how to cut a promo, man. He might be a good fighter and all, but this right here, this will get you cutting a promo real quick, man. This is a funny statement. I love the fact that they're trying out there. That's hilarious to me.
Absolutely, man. I think that Fiziev, he's fighting out of Kyrgyzstan, right? Out there with Valentina Shevchenko, the Shevchenko sisters and whatnot. So it's like, come on, man, you got to make an effort. You got to try something. Clearly, he has a lot more clout right now than Islam Makhachev. People know Fiziev. The casual fan probably knows who Rafael Fiziev is more than they know who Islam Makhachev is. And in terms of skill level, are they both really skilled? Yes. Are they different levels? Absolutely. Come on, what are we talking about here? All right, man, this next photo before I get into a couple more tweets to finish us off. This is just a beauty in the making, man. This is terrible for one person, beautiful for another. This is the hyper extension of Karolina Kowalkiewicz. I butchered the name again. Sorry, folks. But listen, KK, Karolina K, man. Listen, it's like 5 losses in a row, but I'll tell you what. Jessica Penne. This is her first finish since 2013 when she was fighting in Invicta, man. That is like 8 years, AJ. Tell me what you think of this photo.
Oh, man. I mean, girls are a little bit more flexible in their joints than guys are. But you still know, man, that arm is hurting. Like, oh, this is a great photo. I mean, classic. Like, she's literally hips bucked, arms pulling. Great arm bar right here. And a good win for Jessica Penne, man. She hasn't had a finish in a long time, like you said. And it was a good win. It was a good fight, too, as well. But a great picture right here, man. You want to learn some technique. She's literally doing a long leg hip buck with her arm in the middle, just yanking on it. So, yeah, amazing picture right here.
What's even better to me about this photo is if you see Jessica Penne's face, right? Clearly, it's kind of small on the screen, but if you zoom in or whatever and you really take a look at her face, man, she is angry. She's taking that arm home with her, and that's what she said. She says, if I grab your arm, I'm taking it home with me. And that just reminded me of the great Barraju, Paul Craig, right? He said you can either nap, tap, or it snaps. And luckily, Karolina tapped because that thing looked like it would have snapped right off, man. But big win for Jessica Penne. You know, one in the overkill camp, right? You know, Angie didn't get it done, but Penne definitely did. And speaking of that, milestone for the Tiny Tornado, Tecia Torres. She now has 9 UFC wins. She's She's one of the only fighters in women's MMA that have more wins in the UFC is Amanda Nunes at 14, Jessica Andrade at 12, Joanna Jędrzejczyk at 10, and Valentina Shevchenko at 10, man. So, believe it or not, Tecia Torres, who just suffered a 4-fight losing streak not that long ago, man, is now on a real deal tear and could probably be challenging for the title in the near future. It's possible if she keeps the run up, man. How impressive is that to you? And did you even know that she was even on this radar?
I didn't. I'm pretty sure that she's actually lost one each to Joanna and Shevchenko. So, it's crazy that those 2 names on there, she actually fought as well. And if she won those ones, man, she'd be up on that list. She'd be another top dog. So, it's good to see, man. Tecia Torres getting her clout back. I like that.
Yeah, man, it'd be a much different story, much different universe and timeline if she would have got wins over those names, man. But last thing to finish us off for the photos, AJ, another tweet from Mark Raimondi, which is this dude's like a pretty good journalist, man. You know, does some MMA stuff, right? But Vicente Luque, he has the second most finishes in the UFC welterweight history, 13, behind only Matt Brown with 14 per ESPN Stats Info, man. Vicente Luque, the silent assassin, his nickname is that for a reason, dude, because he is killing everybody, and it's still, even after this win, even after getting the Darce choke on Michael the Maverick Chiesa, who has 11 career submission victories, it doesn't feel like people are putting respect on his name. It's sad to see, but I know where I stand on this one, man, and Luque is the real deal. What do you think?
Man, Luque is the real deal. I didn't know about this fact at all because of that, man. Luque is so silent. I don't think I don't know, any media presence at all, but he's just happy as can be, tapping people out, knocking people out, man. This is a crazy record, man. You're one behind, two technically finishes away from making UFC history. That's awesome to see for Vicente Luque, man.
Absolutely. And AJ, I lied to you. I said this was my last one. I actually got 2 more photos. You can't forget the big uppercut from Ciryl Gane on Derrick Lewis, the Black Beast. My question to you, because we're going to actually talk about this and really break this down. So really quickly, without foreshadowing too much, just tell me yes or no. Did you ever expect Ciryl Gane to push the pace on Derrick Lewis like that with so little fear of any repercussions coming back?
No.
All right. Enough said. Enough said. We'll talk more. We'll talk more in a second. And this is the last photo for real. This is just, to me, this was symbolic. This is Ciryl Gane just lighting up the heavyweight division, man. Like, he is really electric right now. He is electrifying to watch. And listen, that gold around his waist, around his shoulder, putting it on his coach, even though it's not the real deal gold, man, it looks good. It looks almost too good to be true. He looked almost too calm. Like, this meant absolutely nothing to him once he got crowned interim champion. But like I said, we'll talk about that in just a second, AJ. So, folks, if you liked the photos this weekend, drop a like, subscribe, all of that good stuff, man. You can definitely go ask us any questions. We'll go MMA related, and we'll go and we'll answer all of that good stuff. You know what I mean, here on the show. So head over to bloodywaterpodcast.com/mail-room, or you can just hit us up on Instagram at D496 for me, at _ENT_AJ for my guy AJ over there. But listen, man, we're not here to shout out the social medias. We're here to break down some fights, AJ. So, or actually, I'm taking this back off because we need to do something that we new segment on this show. Fighter of the night, AJ. Do you have a fighter of the night? I can go first. We can do either one, but what are you thinking? Who stood out to you?
No, I do,
most?
brother. I do actually have a fighter of the night. And actually, I'm going real early in the card for this one, man.
Okay.
I'm going Melissa Gatto as my fighter of the night.
All right.
It's kind of if nobody watched the fight, it's a little early in the card, but man, Melissa Gatto, she had to pull out of, I think it was 4 or 5 different events going forward. She was on that, a little on that chopping block. Everybody was kind of doubting her that she was going through, going to make an actual big one. And then she ended up having a doctor stoppage finish in, I think it was either the first or the second. I believe it was the second, at the end of the second round. Victoria Leonardo, man, she had a broken arm. You see the judge went, or the doctor went and touched it and literally like moved. Like it was wobbly. It was gross. And I don't know if Melissa Gatto's head is just too thick and that's what broke Victoria's arm, but it was a hell of a move. And just seeing that a fighter is able to come back, because she had injury after injury after injury, as well as, like weight issues and all this stuff going forward. She was on, the teetering end of that chopping block, and it was amazing to see her come back and have a hell of a performance going forward against Leonardo. So that's my fighter of the night. Melissa Gatto, down early in the card too, because there's a lot of other ones I could have pulled from, but I like this one a lot just because she was on the cusp of being cut, and then now she's has her shot back. So I really enjoyed that. Who's your fighter of the night, Derek?
Well, first, let me just say, man, that's a great pick for fighter of the night. She had her stand-up looking crisp, even though DC, the entire broadcast, was saying how terrible that she was in the stand-up. Boxing was looking crisp, man. She had a lot of time to go and reinvent herself and all of that good stuff. And I do need to just point out, tough luck for Victoria Leonardo, or is that her first name, Victoria?
Yep.
Yeah, so tough luck for her, man, because her UFC debut was against Manon Fiorot, she's just a killer. And then you get, Gatto next, man. You get the business, you get the broken arm, which was broken originally by Fiorot. Tough luck, man, tough luck. But listen, man, that was a really good fighter of the night. I'm going to go for my fighter of the night. I'm going a bantamweight. I'm going the one we already talked about a little bit earlier. Miles Johns over there fighting out of Texas, man. Fighting out of Dallas, Texas. He got that real big Texas pop when they were announcing his name. And he's my fighter of the night, not only because he has the most stunning knockout of the night, in my opinion, personally, but because of the fighter he has transcended into since entering the UFC. He was on a big decision tear coming into the UFC when he was fighting in the LFA and all of that good stuff. Comes into the UFC. He fights Mario Batista, loses in that UFC debut. Not a good look. He's supposed to be the super high level wrestler cat. Didn't get to show it off there. Then fights a real deal striker, one that I know AJ is a big fan of, and Kevin Natividad knocks him out. Now, was there a little bit of iffiness and questionableness? Yes, because there was allegations that Miles Johns was pulling at Natividad's gloves and then hit him with a Hadouken uppercut or whatever whatever the case, knock that man into another realm. So in my book, I was like, for Miles Johns, all right, bro, okay, you got a good knockout right there, but can you repeat it? Can you keep doing it? Can you really keep the rub going? And what does he do against Anderson Dos Santos? He cripples the man's leg and knocks the man into oblivion. Talk about a comeback, talking about reinventing yourself. And this is a man who also has a big win over Adrian Yanez back in the LFA days, man. So if we're going to be seeing anything out of this man, Miles Johns, in the future, I think we're going to be seeing some real heavy, high-level prospect battles until one of these, fights, he turns into a contender or he turns somebody else into a contender. So for that reason, he is my fighter of the night. My close second was Song Yadong, but we'll talk about him next because he had a very impressive performance as well, AJ. But listen, man, two really good fighters of the night, in my opinion, man. You had a lot to choose from. But okay, man, so let's do it. Let's talk. Song Yadong gets the underdog win against Casey Kenny, man. The Kung Fu Monkey came to play, and I'll tell you what, AJ, he was almost my fighter of the night because I feel like he was the unsung hero of this card. You feel me? I think before we talk about how impressive Song Yadong was, can we talk Casey Kenny and what being a martial artist is, and winning in style, losing in style, winning with humility, losing with humility. It's easy to be humble and win. It's easy to be nice guy when you win. It's hard to be the nice guy when you lose. And Casey Kenny pulled a Marvin Vettori where he's over here screaming that he won the fight. He's jumping on the cage saying, yeah, what's up? No, I won. Clear 29-27, I believe, for Song Yadong, man. Very, very clear, very evident. What happened, man? Do you think that he just got too overhyped because he was able to kind of contend with Dominic Cruz and maybe discounted Song Yadong? What do you think?
I think it has to be something like that, man, because in his mind, he was winning that fight. And don't get me wrong, it was very close, but Song really started to, kind of pull away towards the end, which I found kind of crazy. He started to really get, that third round, he started to pull away, kind of blew me away. And I was surprised Kenny didn't go for more takedowns. We saw it early in the beginning, early in the first. He kind of was like hinting at that ankle pick the whole time. And then again, late in the third round, he started looking for a little bit more takedowns. But I don't know what. I think it might have just been the clout that Kenny had, or the steam, of the USA chants that were in the building, that he thought, oh man, they're chanting USA, I must be winning. But it was actually the opposite case. They're chanting USA because you're losing. You need to get back up on that horse. So it was crazy to see that Kenny actually, was after they announced the victory, jumped on the cage. I get the whole thing, the fight gets done, you jump on the cage right then and there. That, it makes sense because you do think you won at that point. But once it's confirmed that it's an actual L for you, it was weird to see him jump up like that and kind of like he's gonna get the judges to change their mind and be like, oh no, my bad. It was actually that guy. I'm sorry. Yeah, it was weird to see. And I don't know why Casey Kenny would actually continue to go through with it unless it's, in his mind, he should have won. But it was a close fight either, regardless.
It was definitely a close fight, but if we're talking about global scorecard, it wasn't really close on the global scorecard. It was a split decision, however, but at the end of the day, man, listen, I just think that in terms of being a martial artist, you lose a couple points there, man. It's like if you have I think part of being a black belt, right? Because he's a clear black belt in judo, man. Like he's a legit black belt. But part of having a black belt, I think, is the respect that you bring to the sport that you are a practitioner of and that you represent. And when you do things like that, I think that should take a stripe away. You know what I mean? Like do something like that. Of course, no one's gonna ever do that. You know what I mean? There's been way more sore losers in the UFC and in MMA than Casey Kenny. I just thought that he's much better of a fighter and an athlete than that poor sportsmanship that he performed against Song Yadong. Now, in terms of the impressiveness of the Kung Fu Monkey, man, this is a dude who came in. He's a China versus USA rivalry, comes into the USA, beats an American fighter, does it definitively, and in the press conference, he says, yeah, Casey Kenny, he looks slow, man. You know what I mean? That dude looks slow. And I think the other theme of the night, aside from calf kicks, was speed kills. Because Song Yadong was killing this man with speed. We thought he would slow down come round 3. I thought that he was tired after round 1, man. But he gritted it out. He gutted it out, man. How impressive is Song Yadong's boxing, man? Like, in terms of the bantamweight division, do you think that he's got, like, top-notch boxing in the entire division?
I'd probably say top 10. Top 10, because there's some serious boxers in the 135-pound class.
Yep.
Yeah, man, there's some real deal killers going forward in the class. So, but it crisp. Very crisp, man, and a lot better than we always talk. When I watch Song Yadong, I always think he's just gonna plod forward, always walk you down, and not really have any any lateral movement, any backwards movement, any kind of dips, nothing like that. And he looked good, man. He was literally rolling perfectly. Everything was in there. His footwork was impressive. His hands were sharp. It was a really impressive win for Song Yadong. And not what I saw or what impressed me most about him, his speed was so fast and so crisp, but he was able to maintain the distance. He wasn't able to let Casey Kenny get up in all close to him, and he was actually able to, be in that zone where you're dangerous, but not enough to get touched up, which I really liked about Song Yadong, man. It was a very impressive win. I'd say his hands, man, top 10. We got to see him fight somebody, a good boxer coming up next. So.
Yeah, no, for sure. And we'll definitely talk matchmaking a little bit later, man. But I agree with you. Distance management was definitely the key to this fight. And there's the difference that I kind of picked up on, because both of these dudes want to walk forward, right? And in one of those clashes of styles, you're going to realize, okay, one of these two are going to have a power advantage, one's going to have a speed advantage. Since Yadong had the speed advantage, I think that he thought to himself, okay, every time Kenny sits down on his shots, because that's how he has to go. And when he goes, he sits down. It takes a little bit longer. What he sacrifices in speed, he makes up for in the power, right? Every time he sits down, I'm just going to move out the way just a little bit, right? So every one of those shots are just missing, or they're glancing off the arm, or, glancing off the shoulder, whatever. But I'm just out the way. I'm going to hit him, and I'm not going to let him hit me. So you're going to get tired swinging and missing a bunch. You're going to get real tired. You know what I mean? It was a talk about a masterclass, man. I thought that it was a really, really, really good performance by Song Yadong. And we gotta put more respect on these Chinese fighters' names, man. After that one, it was like UFC 262 where China went 0-3 on the night or something crazy like that. I think that we kind of discounted a lot of the Chinese fighters, man. But Song Yadong, he's game, man. He's got a win over Cheeto Vera and Casey Kenny now. So I think that he has a clear spot in the back end of that top 15. He's not quite there yet, but one more big win, he could definitely get himself in those rankings, man. So with that being said, AJ, do you got anything else on this bout, or you want to move on?
No, let's move on, man. It was a good fight, but let's move on.
All right on, man. So next up, this was the rematch. Number 10, Tecia Torres. She was a very, very heavy betting favorite. Not very heavy, but she was a clear betting favorite. And she got the job done, man. She made all of the odds makers look like geniuses against number 12 ranked Angela Hill. And like you said, it was Angela Hill that showed up, not Overkill Hill. And that's what we needed to see. However, AJ, I kind of would beg to differ just a little bit. I think that Angela Hill, the one thing that she had mentioned, if you watch any of the UFC embedded, is she says, if you think about striking the way she thinks about it, she thinks about it like a video game, like an RPG. And she was like, my skill tree on striking is maxed out. It's the grappling where I'm trying to improve. And in some cases, I would say yes, but you got to think, you're fighting Tecia Torres, who is a Taekwondo black belt, a karate black belt. Angela Hill's a Muay Thai fighter, much more square, wants to just walk forward in a straight line. Tecia Torres picked her apart with front kicks and side kicks all day long. And I'm like, for somebody who considers their striking to be maxed out, you sure didn't find a way to get past that front kick or that side kick, man. It was kind of like clear karate style. So shout out to karate. I know you love to see it. But what do you think? Just tell me in your synopsis of this fight, what could Hill have done to get past that front kick, man? Because it seemed like it was just unstoppable.
I mean, the only thing you can really do is just jam it up. Jam it up where she's not able to put some snap on there. Because that's what I was about to say. If your skill tree is maxed out in the RPG, man, they're not even able to touch you. You know what I'm saying? Like, she's able just to slip right past that and land a crazy hook or crazy shot, something like that. But I definitely think she needs to work a little bit more on not necessarily the defense, but like on the counter movement, more so than anything. So she's able to get past that little front kick. She's able to do a lot more damage. But yeah, it was weird to see that Tecia Torres fought like Tecia Torres was going to the entire time, and not really anything different than we expected. Her blitzes were nice. She stayed aggressive the whole time, and Angela Hill just wasn't able to really handle it that much. So I don't know about Angela Hill's comment about her skill tree be maxed out on striking, man, because it is the sport of being hit and not, hitting and not being hit back. So she got a lot of crack on back to her. So it was impressive by Tecia Torres on my book.
Yeah, it was more impressive just because this is one of the only performances that I've seen out of Angela Hill where even leading up to it, it felt a little forced, right? You know, this was her first pay-per-view, first press conference. She was talking a little bit of shit in the pre-fight presser, and she was like, Tecia Torres, she was like, yeah, Angela Hill don't got nothing for me. She was like, oh, I got something for you. And when Angela Hill said her game plan was to punch Tecia Torres in the face more than she was going to get punched in the face, like that plan just backfired because Torres ultimately outstruck her by, I think, like the span of like 30 or 40 strikes, man. Like it was a very high volume night for Tecia Torres, and it goes to show this is one of those things where I think it was even though both of these fighters are so experienced, man, Tecia Torres is experienced against higher level competition, in my opinion, even though they both have gone through the flames of the UFC, right? We talk about Marina Rodriguez, Joanna Jędrzejczyk, and Weili Zhang. You know, those were 3 of her last 5 recent opponents. She lost to all of them, but, I mean, come on, bro. Those are killers right there. Angela Hill has been derailed, right? You know, in terms of like any momentum she gains, she always takes one step back, hopefully can go a little bit further. My question to you on this, because we know Tecia Torres has now kind of inserted herself a lot closer in that title spot for 115 pounds. Where does Angela go from here, man? You know, do you think that Angela Hill still can contend for a title? She's 36 years old. You know what I mean? That's what her, like the clock has been ticking this entire time. But, I mean, if striking is her strong suit and she just got picked apart by Tecia Torres, I mean, what does that say for her hopes, you know, in the future of the division?
Yeah, I mean, it when you look at it on paper, it looks a little rough. 36 years old, you know, kind of a little bit past the prime or getting past the prime, that age of it. But she's only been in mixed martial arts for, you know, I don't have the actual number here, but less than 10 years. You know, she hasn't taken the knocks. She hasn't taken all the ring time or she's getting beat up, you know, in the camp and all that stuff. So I actually do think Angela Hill has a little bit longer clock than most would give her. You know, we're going to see her to at least 38, 39, 40 years old. She's got another 4 or 5 years coming. Especially in the women's division, you can fight a little bit longer than actually, you know, the heavyweight man can when you're getting clobbered around a little bit. So I definitely think Angela Hill still has the forward thinking, or at least the momentum to be able to carry her towards the championship. I know if we're seeing, you know, people like Michelle Waterson, the Karate Hottie, where she's had a very up and down record going forward, if she's able to at least, you know, get in the name, you know, the highlight where she might be fighting for a championship, if she does this or if she does that, I could see the same for Angela Hill. So if you have the same trajectory as the Karate Hottie, as an Overkill Hill, you know, that's it's not a bad rap. What do you think, Derek?
Well, you know what, man? I'm going to have to push back just a little bit on that because I would say that the difference between women fighting and like big heavyweights is that the first thing to go is the speed. The last thing to go is the power. In the women's strawweight division, you need the speed. Speed kills in the division. And we saw Torres was way faster than Angela Hill. Like it wasn't even close. That could be an age thing because like I said, it's a 5-year difference, 36 for Hill, 31 for Torres. But in the strawweight division, if you don't got that speed, you got very little to offer unless you're just knocking people out. And we don't really see that 115 pounds. So I think that the window is a lot shorter than probably we're predicting for Angela Hill, unfortunately. But I do think that she still has a place here. If anything, she could still be a really good gatekeeper, you know what I'm saying? But the title aspirations, it's just tough to be on the wrong side of 35 and still be like, yep, man, I could challenge for that title and stuff when you got young, hungry killers that are like aiming for that title all day, every day, man. The last thing that I got to say on this one, AJ, is that Angela Hill has now racked up the most fight time. I'm talking about time in the ring in women's fighting, you know, in women's division. I think the strawweight division, I want to say out of all of the women's just divisions in total in the UFC, man, but she's passed like Joanna Jędrzejczyk. So it's probably strawweight, but she had like the most ring time out there. So to see that she has all of this ring time and we're still having performances like this, man, this is one of those decisions where we can truly and honestly say there was no iffiness, you know, there was no like, oh man, the judges, no, this was the right person won in this fight. And I think 30-27 was probably the right call as well, man, because while Hill had her moments, she just looked like a step behind the entire fight, man. You can't expect to win fights that way, man. But big win for Tecia Torres, the tiny tornado, and we'll be seeing big things from her in the near future. Now, AJ, man, the silent assassin. We said it, Vicente Luque. This is 2 back-to-back stunning first-round performances against a former champion, a former 4-time welterweight champion in Tyron I'll beat your ass Woodley, and now getting the Darce over the submission ace in Michael Chiesa, man. There's few ways that would have been more impressive, few methods of victory that would have been more impressive. I don't think there's actually any methods that would have been more impressive than how Luque finished this fight. But do you think that the downfall of Michael Chiesa for this matchup was an overestimation of his grappling abilities or an underestimation of Vicente Luque's grappling abilities? What do you think?
I would have to think it'd be an overestimation of Michael Chiesa's own grappling ability, because everybody knows Vicente Luque is very talented on the mat. So you can't really underestimate him. Maybe you can. Maybe you can underestimate him, but you think, Vicente Luque coming back. For some reason, I thought he was a Brazilian, and because in my mind, I can see his American flag underneath his thing. But in my mind, man, he has those same chops. You know what I'm saying? Those same chops, the dude coming right out of the hood, right out of the slums, the favelas of Brazil. But Vicente Luque, man, he's very dangerous on the ground. So I would imagine Michael Chiesa thought, this dude's dangerous. He can get some taps. He tapped out, like you said, I'll beat your ass, Woodley. But that's not really, that's not that impressive. Woodley can get tapped out by a lot of people. He doesn't have the chops to stand up against Michael Chiesa, no chance. But man, we saw for sure. That's why I think it is Michael Chiesa just thought, I'm a little bit better than this dude at the ground, at the ground game, so I could go ahead and get him done. And even on the submission that he had, man, Michael Chiesa, I forgot what it was that he had him in trouble with, but they were rolling around. Michael Chiesa had the submission going. He was working towards the submission, and then Vicente Luque was able just to snatch up a Darce like that. Man, it was beautiful, quick. Literally, as they were rolling around, you saw him just get that chin or get that hand under the neck and start squeezing, roll to the correct side, and really start pulling on it. Michael Chiesa thought he was like, I just got to roll, switch out, just roll out from underneath. And brother, Vicente Luque had a good grasp on it. So if I had to guess, I would say Michael Chiesa just overthought his own abilities, not necessarily underthought Vicente Luque. Because if you're underthinking people at this level, man, that's a huge mistake because all these dudes are killers. What do you think?
No, absolutely, man. I'll tell you. So first off, I think Chiesa had Vicente Luque in trouble with the rear naked choke. He had the back, and that was like saying, Luque said, that's the last thing that I want to give Chiesa is my back. However, he also said, I'm really good at defending, back attacks. So I think he had the rear naked choke locked in. He was able to grab an arm, maybe 2-on-1 or whatever the case. Next thing you know, he even said it. He was all like, man, once I get into that position, that Darce, that's my go-to. I go to that all the time. So it reminded me a little bit of Matouj Gamro, word on the street. I wasn't pronouncing that right. So, Matouj, our guy over there, right? He is the kind of same situation against Jeremy Stevens, and I don't remember exactly what he locked him up with, but he was like, as soon as I get in that position, like it's game over. It could have been a guillotine or something crazy like that, but he says, that's like my position. That is what I train for. That is, once it's there, it's game over. So to get him in such a favorable position, instincts kick in and just immediate Darce, listen, it was beautiful for Vicente Luque, and I think the dismantling of Michael Chiesa, beating him in a fashion in which most people wouldn't have imagined, most people wouldn't be able to in the division, has to skyrocket Vicente Luque up there, man. Unfortunately, even though I think that he deserves to be probably next in line winner of Usman versus Covington, I think he's going to have to take one more big fight, and there's only one name that makes sense, AJ. We'll talk about it in a second, but I think he's going to take one more big win for him to get a title shot, man. However, huge win for Vicente Luque. I would have liked to see more of a fight, personally, more stand-up. I'd like to see, because Chiesa tagged Luque. He cut him up, man. I think it was like a nice little jab or a nice left cross or something like that. But I just would have liked to see the evolution of Chiesa's stand-up, man, because word on the street is that he's just a new and improved fighter, man, something like that. But a huge win for Vicente Luque, the silent assassin. 4 finishes in his last 5 fights. Super impressive. 2 submissions, 2 knockouts. And he moves to, let's see, he's going to move to 21-7-1, man. Hell of a record, man. And Now for the co-main, AJ. This is one where I'll tell you what, man. I said it in the preview show. I tried to tell the people you must respect the man that goes by the name Jose Aldo, the king of Rio de Janeiro, the former, I think he had 7 consecutive featherweight title defenses between the WEC and the UFC. And Jose Aldo, man, he put it on Pedro Munhoz. And even though it was a very close fight, it was a well-contested fight. I think Jose Aldo showed that there are levels to this thing. Just because you're Brazilian, just because you're young, just because you knock people out, doesn't mean you're on his level. And he showed it, man. He really, really showed it. Give me your biggest takeaway from this Jose Aldo versus Pedro Munhoz matchup, AJ.
Man, my biggest takeaway is Aldo at 135 is an absolute different animal, man. He is another breed of fighter, bro. Like this dude, 1, he looked bigger than Pedro Munhoz. 2, he hit harder than Pedro Munhoz. And 3, he was faster. Like you said, the speed goes when you get older, but not for Jose Aldo, man. He was whipping him. It was crazy. And the funny thing to me, we were talking about leg kicks. So I was like, Jose Aldo isn't really going to implement the too many leg kicks going forward. You know, he's kind of got away from that in the game. And you saw rounds 1 and 2. He didn't really, whip him out. He was checking every single thing Pedro Munhoz was throwing. So much so that Pedro Munhoz even started to have to just kind of throw out like tap kicks. He wasn't really putting any whip on his leg kicks. He was kind of just throwing them out there to touch the leg a little bit. See, make sure hey, I'm still here. I'm still throwing these. You still got to check them. But third round came around, man. You really saw Jose Aldo start to just turn his hip and dig those legs right into that calf. Pedro Munhoz didn't want any part of it. It was very impressive win. And the fact that Jose Aldo's doing it, and I don't know the age of him. You'll be able to help me out with that one, Derrick.
34 years old, man. They're both the same age, 34.
34, but the maybe not the age, but the length of that Jose Aldo's been doing it, man, since WEC days. It's super impressive to see, man. This dude is an absolute killer. And like I said, at 135 pounds, he's a different animal. It's insane.
Absolutely.
It's insane.
Man.
What was your big takeaway?
I mean, my big takeaway was that Jose Aldo, the boxer, is the new and improved Jose Aldo, man. Now he said he's all like, listen, he used to be like in the Army or something crazy like that, and he did boxing in the Navy or something. And he says, like, that is what's going to propel me forward. I love the leg kicks. I'll never forget what the leg kicks have done for me and, all that good stuff. So they're always that, like, extra trick, that ace up the sleeve, right? But the boxing is the thing that people aren't prepared for, because even John Morgan said it in the post-fight presser. He was all like, so you used to be Jose Aldo the leg kicker, now are you Jose Aldo the jabber? Like now you're just jabbing people's faces off. And that's the evolution that we've also seen though, AJ, right? Is that MMA has gone from a much more hook-based, haymaker-based striking approach to a boxing, kickboxing, jabs, technical technician type fights. And Jose Aldo is evolving with the sport. So this is what is more telling to me is that, yeah, did he take a couple of losses against really high-level opponents? Yeah, he absolutely did. But he's also done what he needed to do to make sure that he was able to transcend his game, live a healthier life, and propel himself forward. 34 years old, bro. That's the prime of your life right there, of your athletic life right there. And people are saying that like Aldo's doing things that he shouldn't be able to be doing. He's faster than how he was before. But like I said, I just always go back to that. The man is only 34 years old. We just view him as being the super old guy or whatever because he's been around for so long, because we can remember him for so long. But dangerous man. However, let's give some props to Pedro Munhoz, because while, yeah, he was kind of getting it put on to him, man, he was still hanging in there with Jose Aldo. He made it competitive for sure. I will say, though, you're right, man. You don't kick with the kicker. I think Pedro Munhoz learned that one early. Once all those things were getting checked, he was like, all right, man, like, God damn it. Like, this is Jose Aldo. So maybe that starstruck nature came into place a little bit as well. But at the end of the day, the king of Rio de Janeiro, he set his personal best for significant strikes in a fight with 114, AJ. Tell me that's not impressive. After 36 career fights, you set your personal best in significant strikes at 34 years old. How impressive is that?
Man, that is so damn impressive, especially because the significant strikes he was landing were doing some serious damage. Yeah. Like, I think the whole thing to me speaks to Jose Aldo's mental game is probably one of his best games, man. This dude, even though he's been defeated, he seems like he fights undefeated. Like zero repercussions in there. He's throwing what he's best at. He's fighting his fight. His mental game is absolutely impeccable, and it's impressive to see, man.
Absolutely. Last thing before we move on, man, just comment really quickly on the body shots of Jose Aldo, man, because he was throwing in there with a vengeance, man. He was looking like a mini Mike Tyson in there, just winging left hooks to the body. I told you he was going to touch the liver, and he did. I'm surprised Munoz was able to take it, but that's probably the most impressive part of Aldo's stand-up to me personally, is just how vicious he attacks the body. What do you think?
No, I think that goes right into that boxing you were talking about, man. He was so smart about it. Feint a couple up to the head and dig him to the body, bro. It was very impressive. We were even texting back and forth, and I said, man, you're right. That boxing is crisp, man. And when a dude is lighting you up and then digging him to the body, that hurts. That hurts right there.
And then it opens up the leg, and now you got too many things to think about. Is he going to hit my liver, my chin, or my leg? I don't know. You just get confused. Like, I don't know, bro. Like, stop hitting me, please. But, hey, huge win for Jose Aldo, and he already says who he wants to fight next, but we'll talk about that in just 1 second. So let's move on to the main event, man. The new interim heavyweight champion. Not real heavyweight champion. You're really more of a number one contender. But hey, man, next up is the old teammate out of the MMA factory, Paris, France. And Francis the Predator Ngannou. But let's talk about this one first, AJ. Number 2 ranked Derrick Lewis. He had the pressure on him in his hometown, Houston, Texas. Ciryl Gane, like we had mentioned, he came in number 3, fastest trajectory up there to a title shot, even though it's a fake title shot, an interim title shot. But, and I got to keep mentioning that, man, because they did Francis Ngannou so dirty, man. This is not a championship bout. Come on, what are we talking about? We know who the real champ is. But anyways, so here's the thing. Ciryl Gane, I said he had no pressure on him, right? And I really feel like that was the case. Because if he lost, people would be like, oh, well, dude's only 9-0. He's been doing MMA for 3 years. He was supposed to lose, right? Derrick Lewis, he's been doing this forever. You're supposed to win. This is the in with the new, out with the old times, how many times now? But this is the real deal showing. Derrick Lewis landed maybe like a handful of strikes in this entire fight, and Ciryl Gane finished him in the 3rd round. What's more impressive, AJ? The relentless approach of Ciryl Gane just walking forward like we were all wondering, would he do it? I said it's going to be the same game plan against Volkov. This was literally the same game plan, right? What was more impressive, him doing that or him actually being able to finish Derrick Lewis? Let's not forget those calf kicks that were in there that set up the finish, right? Which one was more impressive?
I think it was more impressive to me the fact that he legitimately walked Derrick Lewis down with no regard. Like, literally didn't care what was coming his way. There's a couple times where he was biting on the feints a little bit, and he'd kind of, dip out. Everybody needs to. It's Derrick Lewis. He's a bomber, it's going to happen. But, man, that 3rd round came around, man, and he was literally just like an animal, bro. Like, he didn't care what came his way. He was winging him. He knew he was going to get the finish. We all saw Derrick Lewis started to crumble down a little bit. The pressure was a little too much. Even when his coaches were talking to him on the stool, he was saying, instead of that fire coming out like, oh shit, I lost these 2. All right, we're gonna get it. No, it was more of like, damn, I lost. Like, okay, well, all right, I guess time to go out there again. Like, let's see how long this goes. So it was crazy to see, man. It was very impressive to me. I said in the pre-show, we got a little bit of crow on this one, that I think Ciryl Gane's going to make this a boring fight because he's not going to want to get touched up by Derrick Lewis. That was not the case at all. Literally not the case at all. Ciryl Gane came in ready for a thumping, didn't give a shit what was going to happen to him, and literally came in like a predator, man. It was excited. I'm very excited to see the fight that's going to come up next for him. And, man, super impressive win. Very impressive win. What was your takeaway?
Well, my takeaway was that this dude, like, it's undeniable at this point, right? Like, there's only so many times where you can watch somebody do the same thing time in and time out, and then in the next fight be like, I don't know. Don't know if he's going to be able to do it. I don't know if he's ready. I don't know if he has the skills, right? So like I said in the beginning, this is the in with the new, out with the old. This is what a heavyweight needs to be to reach the pinnacle of the sport. We already saw Francis Ngannou is very much like Ciryl Gane. He's just a bigger guy, you know what I mean? But he's very much an athlete, right? And we saw with the sprawls, with the wrestling defense with against Stipe Miocic, that was the dude who was like, okay, there's no stopping this guy. He's got it all. He could hit you with a pinky and knock you out. He could slam you on your head. If you try to, take him down, he can reverse the position and ground and pound you until you're done. Like, that's what you need, not the one big bomb, which Derrick Lewis is basically that, man. We've seen him. I said it in the Curtis Blades fight. I was like, listen, the dude's getting pieced up until he wasn't. It's not going to happen every fight. We even seen him lose to Junior Dos Santos, really close with Blagoy Ivanov. Those dudes are plotters, you know what I mean? This dude is on his toes moving like a middleweight. That's all Dana White kept saying. He's like, he's a heavyweight who's moving like a middleweight. You've never seen it before. So well, let's be honest, right, AJ? I think there was a couple fights ago that Dana White was not very happy with Ciryl Gane's performance against Darzinho Rozenstruik, and now all of a sudden he's like his favorite fighter now. So very "what have you done for me lately" type situation. When he gets the finish, that's when exactly, the money, it's exciting, all that, right? But hey, man, Ciryl Gane is the real deal. This is what it is, man. I want to ask you about Derrick Lewis real quick. Do you think it was just the pressure was just too much, man? Do you think he cracked under pressure, or do you think that really the speed, the athleticism, the combos of Ciryl Gane just froze him up like they've done to Volkov and Rozenstruik?
I'd probably say it leans a little bit more towards the pressure for me. He just wasn't himself, man. He wasn't fighting like the Black Beast. Don't get me wrong, Ciryl Gane, I think, they fight 10 times I think they fight 10 times. Ciryl Gane probably gets the best out of him at least 6 or 7 times. He is the better fighter for sure. 100% of the time. He's very fast. Ciryl Gane has all the techniques that he needs to have, whereas Derrick Lewis, he's got what he has. He's that old school style of heavyweight fighter, and like he even said like you just alluded to, man, he even said, he was like, no matter what, I always got this right hand. And sure enough, you depend on that right hand a little too much, you're never gonna land it. But I truly accredit this one all to the pressures of the fight just being too much for him. He even thought, like, last time I was in the ring, last time I was fighting championship, didn't really get it done. I got beat up by DC, who was a smaller guy, a faster guy as well. So, I completely think that he just crumbled under the weight of the magnitude of the fight, and it was sad to see, because like I said, I saw it a lot when he was on his stool in the middle of the rounds, where his coach was talking to him, and you can see when a fighter has that fire, like he's going to go out there and get it, but it just wasn't the case for Derrick Lewis, and it was sad to see. It was a rough one for any of us that are Black Beast fans, man. What do you think?
Well, I think that one thing that really concerned me watching this fight is that Derrick Lewis, at a certain point in the fight, when it comes like round 2, round 3, there's almost this refusal to modernize yourself with the sport, right? He has modernized his game, right? He throws these crazy switch kicks, so do some of that good stuff. But he's a traditional heavyweight where he's looking for the one big shot to put you out. And where his refusal to become a little more modern, I think, came in the refusal to check any kicks. Like, he didn't even try to check the kicks, man. Ciryl Gane was literally full force. I'm talking about, like, if Lewis would have checked it, Gane probably would have split his leg in half. Like, full force, everything just crack on the leg. And Derrick Lewis took about, I think he took 3, maybe 4 of those before that set up the finish, because now he's like, oh shit, I can't walk anymore. I can't put weight on this thing. That also takes away my big left hand, you know what I mean? Because he has a left hand too, but that takes that thing away. It takes away steam off of that right hand with every single leg kick. So refusing to not check kicks, or refusing to learn how to check kicks in 2021 in modern MMA seems to me to be the calling card of not wanting to actually be a champion and not wanting to reach the pinnacle, wanting to be a fighter. That's what he's definitely a fighter, but he's also said championship means absolutely nothing to him until, well, hey, we're fighting in Houston, so now I'm all about the championship. What's up? You know what I mean? But before that, he was all like, I don't care, man. Just put somebody in front of me. I'll knock him out. It's all good. So listen, man, it was definitely, like I said, man, in with the new, out with the old. We could say it a million times, but Ciryl Gane is here. The new hybrid heavyweights are here, and you got to be on your game, man. You got to be ready for the knees, the leg kicks, everything, because imagine, Derrick Lewis would have fought Francis Ngannou again, and Francis Ngannou got calf kicks too. Don't forget that, So Francis Ngannou would probably do the same thing. So now it's going to show how. I want to see if Stipe Miocic, man, he's got his work cut out for him, and we'll talk about him in a second too, because he seems to be the odd man out in this title picture. But listen, man, I think that's enough of that. Huge win for Ciryl Gane. He's at a 70% finish rate in his victories, man. He's finished 7 of 10 fights. Wins the interim heavyweight title, moves to 10-0, man. So listen, fast rising Ciryl Gane. The man is absolutely a problem, AJ. But let's move on to a little bit of matchmaking. And before we do that, folks, drop a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. We appreciate you. Keep commenting. We keep replying. We love the comments. We love interacting with the good folks at home and all that stuff, man. So bloodywaterpodcast.com. You know where to find us on the socials. Bloody Water Podcast on Instagram, Bloody Water Pod on Twitter. But matchmaking time, AJ, man. This is where we put our real deal hats on. And Listen, man, let's start off with the biggest heavyweight, Ciryl Gane. There's only one way to go, and that's Francis Ngannou, man. Dana White's already said it himself. He says this was basically to unify the belts, to force Francis Ngannou into fighting. This is basically the UFC's leverage tactic, saying, oh, y'all don't have a union, so guess what we're going to do? We're going to force you to fight who we want you to fight for the money we want to give you, and if you don't like it, you can be stripped of your belt or you can vacate. It's okay. So there's no options for the fighters, man. It's very sad to see the exploitation of labor, but at the same time, that's why you need a union, right, AJ?
Yeah, I mean, they definitely need a union, but I don't think Uncle Dana's gonna. I mean, I don't know if he has a choice, but that ain't happening anytime soon. And you're gonna need. What sucks is you're gonna need all the other fighters to agree, and that's getting all a bunch of hotheads to agree on one thing. That ain't gonna happen, especially one will catch payday from Uncle Dana and be like, yeah, fuck y'all. So
yeah, no, I agree, man. It's too much of an individual sport, because everyone's trying to make that Conor McGregor money when in reality, Conor McGregor is literally the only one who makes Conor McGregor money. So it's like, it's one of those things like in America where it's the American dream. Everyone's trying to chase the American dream, which we've seen year after year probably isn't as real as we think. But regardless, man, heavyweight championship against Francis Ngannou has a storyline behind it, right? Former teammates at MMA Factory. Listen, Ngannou's 16-3, and he'll be making his real deal first title defense against Ciryl Gane and not Stipe Miocic, who allowed Ngannou a rematch, man. So I just thought that was interesting, man. Just tell me really quickly. I want to talk about it on the newswire. I don't want to spend too much time in the matchmaking portion. Where does Stipe Miocic fit in this heavyweight title picture, man?
Man, I feel the worst for Stipe Miocic, man. And he instantly gave back. Not only did he run it back with DC, he also ran it back with Francis Ngannou. This dude is the king of being down. Like, hey, man, whatever, let's fight. Whatever. I love that about Stipe. And he's just getting shunned, man. He's just getting shunned, pushed to the side. It is sad to see. I genuinely think Stipe needs to be fighting for the championship. That's not what we're going to get. That's not what we're going to see. So I say, fuck it. Give him John Jones. Let him make some money. At least he's going to be fighting somebody, man. Let's have some fun. Come on.
Red panty night, man. Red panty night for Stipe. Give him John Jones, man. But I agree. I definitely agree with you. And I think it's sad because I think that you should be honorable when you fight. And if you're a champion, you should say, hey, you gave me the rematch. All right, I'll give you the rematch. But I think Ngannou is probably saying, listen, bro, I put you into another dimension. Do we really need, you want me to do that to you again? Okay. All right. Say no more, so maybe he's looking at it that way. But listen, I think that regardless, either give Stipe John Jones or the winner of this matchup between Gane and Ngannou, two similar of names, Ngannou Gane, winner of that one either gets John Jones or Stipe, or winner of Stipe Jones gets that. But some type of title eliminate we need. But aside from that, there's no other matchups to be made for that one, right? Yeah, I didn't think so. Okay, welterweight, Vicente Luque, the silent assassin, man. I told you, I got one big name that I think he needs to get past if he wants the title shot, but I'm interested to know who you think. Who do you think, AJ?
Yeah, I think there was one big name for me as well. I'm interested to see if our names are the same, but I'm saying Leon Rocky Edwards, man. That's the fight that needs to happen. Leon has not been getting the clout he needs, man. He's been getting a lot of rub from a lot of people, but you put him, both of these fighters need to get a little bit more shine to their names, and I think that'd be a hell of a scrap going forward. You got a good boxer in Leon, you got a hell of a fighter in Vicente, man. It's gonna be a fight. What do you think?
I agree with you. I don't think there's really anybody else that you can make the matchup with, and I think that if you are Leon Edwards, you have two options. Dana White already said you can keep sitting out, dude. That's fine, but it'd probably be in your best interest to take another fight instead of just hoping that you get a title shot, which is very telling when your boss tells you that, right? It's basically saying, bro, stop. You're not going to get a title shot. Relax. So I think that there's two options for Leon Edwards. You either say, all right, man, I'm going to just suck it up and I'm going to fight Luque. And if I win, I get the title shot finally in definitive fashion, right? It can't be a Bilal Muhammad type win. It has to be a real win, right? Or he has the Jorge Masvidal fight, right? And they're saying they already did a little call out on social media and all that stuff, man. So that's there. But what gets you more, clout, right? A win over Masvidal or a win over Luque? I think that in terms of just casual people who don't know shit about the sport, a win over Masvidal is like, oh fuck, you know what I mean? But he's number 7 in the division, right? Coming off a couple bad losses. Now, if we're talking about Vicente Luque, a dude who's finished 4 in a row, killing all these dudes. that's the fight you need to make. So I agree with you, Leon Edwards, but it has to be definitive because another one of these wishy-washy decisions ain't going to get it done for you, my man. All right, Kung Fu Monkey, man, in the bantamweight division, Song Yadong. I think he came in around number 20, doesn't go very far, and goes to about 19 because Casey Kenny is like sitting right outside of those rankings, right? But I got an interesting name that I honestly don't think that you're gonna be able to guess this one. So you go first, AJ. Who's next for the Kung Fu Monkey?
That's good because I got two just in case, Derek, man. But this is gonna sound crazy. I want him to fight my boy, the Sugar Show. Sugar Sean O'Malley. I think it'd be a good fight. You know, he's already had a win against Cheeto Vera. Song Yadong has already had a win against Cheeto Vera. And I think it'd be good to fight the dude that Cheeto beat, but still kind of took an L to. You know, in a sort of way, you know, Cheeto still kind of took that L. So I think it'd be good to fight the undefeated Sugar Show. And then go ahead with yours, man. I want to see if it's the same.
Well, that's a big name and a big step up in competition. And I just don't know if the UFC would even give Song Yadong that fight because he doesn't have the big name behind him, right? There's a reason why they gave him Casey Kenny right here. You know, these are both two fighters who need to build their name up more. I got somebody who's less of a name, which is something more realistic I think that we can see. And I'm playing off of a similar storyline than I think that you're heading for. I'm going off of a dude who beat the man that Song Yadong just lost to. So I'm picking Raulian Paiva. And the reason why is because you just got the big win, whether it was deserving or not. You got the big win over Kyler Phillips. Kyler Phillips is the last loss that Song Yadong has taken on his record. Why not get past Paiva? Because if you beat the brakes off of him, if you really put it on him, because I didn't mention it in the recap, but Song Yadong, that was his first decision win of his career. I'm pretty sure. So that's like he's finishing all these people, right? So if you get a big finish over Raulian Paiva, you could somehow, some way sneak your way in front of Kyler Phillips in the overall trajectory of the division. What do you think, right?
I mean, with MMA math, we all know how illogical that is. Yeah, no, I agree. I actually saw that match too. He was just he was lower on the totem pole. So I didn't want Song Yadong fighting down, although I can see how that works out with, like, you know, like I said, with the MMA math going forward. I can see how with the guy, you beat the guy that beats you. Yeah, I mean, you up in the ranks. It makes sense to me.
See, listen, man, we're playing 3D chess here with this matchmaking, man. I can't just go off the number. I got to hit the storyline, the narrative, you know, put it all in a formula, and then it outputs somehow MMA logic, you in front now. There you go. So, yeah, I think that would be a good matchup, but I think both of them would be fun. I think that the Sugar Show, that's the payday. Believe it or not. I don't know how the hell he's making so much money. He's just a big draw. But Paiva, that's for the hardcores. I think Song Yadong could pass that test. I think he definitely could. But I think it would be interesting because now we know Paiva's not going away all 3 rounds. Song Yadong's not going away all 3 rounds. That could just be a fun fight. Okay, man. The King of Rio de Janeiro. There's one real big name, but there's a couple players in play for this man. However, you know he's trying to fight his way back up to a title shot, man. He got a title shot. I think it was his first fight in the bantamweight division, lost that one, or it was the second one, or, you know, something like that. But he even mentioned, he was like, I might have fought for the title just a little too early in this new weight class. Now that I'm here established, now I'm trying to take all up-and-comers, man. Everybody who wants it can get it. Who's next for the King of Rio, AJ?
Man, for the King of Rio, I'm going someone similar. I guess not really similar in storyline, but I'm saying the CEO of EPO, TJ Dillashaw versus the King of Rio. I think that's the fight to make, man. Yeah. Two somewhat old dogs in the division. You know, we've talked about they're still young in their age, but older in the sport. I think that's a hell of a fight, man, especially with the clout that TJ Dillashaw has just received off of the Corey Sandhagen win. You know, he looked really good. A lot of people don't like to admit to it, but he looked really good. You throw him against Jose Aldo, dude, I think that's a scrap we got in our hands, man. What do you think?
I agree with you, man. I think that's the fight that makes the most sense for both parties involved. Dillashaw, his win over Sandhagen wasn't decisive enough, man. No one's going to give him the real credit for that. Maybe as time passes, they will. But anyone who, like, watches the fight, you'll be like, I mean, that was such a close fight. But I think that, I don't know, man. It would be a really good fight, right? However, there's another dude who's in this picture who I think deserves a shot at the King of Rio as well. And his name is Rob Font, fighting out of New England Cartel, because we just talked about how great of a boxer Jose Aldo has turned into. You know who's damn near one of the best boxers in the division? His name is Rob Font, man. And this dude's got a wicked jab. His stand-up is incredible. His grappling is legit. I think that would be a very fun test. Now, it would just be a different look, right? TJ Dillashaw is a different look than Rob Font is. So with that being said, Aldo's 2-2 since moving up to bantamweight. You still kind of got to prove yourself a little bit, man. Let me ask you this, just really quick answer from you. What is harder of a test for Jose Aldo? Do you think it would be Dillashaw or Font?
I kind of think Font. Right off the top of my head, I kind of think Font, man, because he's got them hands. Whereas Tecia Dillashaw, don't get me wrong, he's got everything. Yeah. But Rob Font's a little longer, taller. And even in the last post show we did for the last UFC event, I said TJ Dillashaw needs to fight Rob Font.
Yeah.
So, I mean, all that mix, all that little trio right there, I think needs to scrap it out and figure out who's a real number one contender now that Sandhagen is out of the picture. But if I had to guess, I would say probably Rob Font's a little bit harder of a match, just the hair, because TJ Dillashaw is very rough.
Absolutely. I just think Aldo, I agree with you. I think Aldo has fought people like TJ Dillashaw more than he's fought people like Rob Font. Rob Font's really big, really long, and his body, like when it's talking about boxer versus boxer, man, I just think that'd be really fun. I think Aldo's a better boxer than TJ Dillashaw is personally. I think TJ Dillashaw is really well-rounded and all that stuff. But I think it would be either one of those would be a big fight. And when I put next to Rob Font, I just said, may the best boxer win. That's all I put next to it, you know what I mean? Because I think it would be one of those scraps. So that was big, man. Jose Aldo probably doesn't move up in the rankings, right? Munoz was number 9, Aldo was number 5, Big fight, though. All right, lastly, Tecia Torres. She came in at number 10. She beat number 12, Angela Hill. Probably doesn't move up. If she does, it'll be a spot, maybe 2. But I think that now she's worked her way back up. I said it time and time again, AJ. She has worked her way back up into getting somewhere near that title mix, right? Somewhere in those name of contenders. Now, we know that Yan Xiaonan, she just kind of had her opportunity. She got starched by Carla Esparza. Carla Esparza is clearly one of the front runners for the women's strawweight title picture to fight for that championship next. However, I think that Tecia Torres, and I'll just let mine out the bag, I think that she should fight Yan Xiaonan next because she beat Angela Hill at her own game, which is what made this win so impressive. She outstruck the striker in Angela Hill. Now, can you outstrike a real deal striker at the top of the division, number 4 in the division at Yan Xiaonan? We know that's her game. It's all about the striking. Can she outstrike her? I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. It'll be an interesting test, though. So that's my pick. Who do you think, AJ?
I like that one. For some reason, I thought Yan and Tecia Torres already fought. So that's why I didn't really go there with that one. I do like that one a lot. I also really like who I had was Carla Esparza because she's, like you said, she's on the rise. She's going to be fighting for the ship soon enough. So I like either of those, to be honest with you, man. Carla Esparza is on absolute tear. I think she deserves a title shot a little bit more, whereas Yan Xiaonan versus Tecia Torres, that'd be a good fight. Be a good fight coming up.
Yeah, I agree, man. That's just really what I'm looking at it as. I think Esparza, she shouldn't have to fight anyone else, man. She's on like a 5-fight win streak. She's smashing everybody. Just give her the title shot. Let's do it. Either Rose rematches Weili Zhang or you fight Carla Esparza, which then Esparza already has a win over Rose, so there's already a storyline there. So either one would be fine, but I think Tecia Torres set herself up in a good spot, man. She's a contender again. That's just so impressive after losing 4 straight. Sometimes you lose 4 straight, you're out of the UFC. But, she made it. She made a run, all that good stuff. But, all right, folks, that's the matchmaking portion. And AJ just got a little bit more before we get out of here. A couple things I want to talk about for the Newswire. And I'll make it kind of quick because we're running out of time here. 36-year-old former UFC title challenger Chad Money Mendes, 18-5 in MMA, 9-5 in the UFC. He returns from retirement and signs a multi-fight deal with the Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship, AJ. I just need to read this quote to you, and then you give me your take. Quote goes as such from Chad Mendes. Just signed a big contract. I'm coming back to fighting, Mendes told Rogan, but I'm not coming back to MMA. I'm coming back to boxing. Just want to try something different. I think we're going to throw some bare knuckle in there, bro. Just mix it up, get real crazy. This is something that's kind of been in the works for probably a year now. I'm going to give you 3 choices real quick, AJ. Money, miss fighting way too much, or just a crazy goddamn man. What do you think? What is driving Chad Mendes to come back to the sport of fighting, man? What do you think?
I think it has to be missing fighting too much. I was actually, you sent this to me on the Newswire when I was driving to Texas, and I was actually listening to this episode of the Joe Rogan on my way down. And he was saying, Chad Monday, he has all these different ventures where he's making money. He's making money doing other stuff everywhere else. He doesn't really need fighting anymore. But that itch as a competitor, man, he's been, wrestling since he's 9 years old, fighting since, however long he's been fighting. That itch as a competitor is still in you, and you really want to get out there and get. And I think that's what it is for Chad Mendes, man. He just wants to scrap, do something different, get in there, do something crazy a little bit. So I'm leaning a little bit more towards the itch of competition is back at him.
I think so too, especially when it's a little bit of a different sport. You're a little unproven, right? We know what you can do in MMA. What can you do in the bare knuckle boxing, right? Because we saw Paige Van Zandt, right? Good at MMA. I mean, not quite as good at bare knuckle boxing, but hey, it's just a different venture entirely. You can't expect that thing to completely translate, right? But next thing, we got Sean Strickland fires back at the cocky motherfucker Luke Rockhold with an expletive-filled video message. And this is just a little IG thing. I just thought this is real life implications, and this is something I thought you would enjoy. So this is a quote from Sean Strickland. He says, all of these things regarding, him being a cocky motherfucker, him being whatever, for Sean Strickland. He said, all these things might be true, but I'll tell you one thing. Me and you might never fight. I don't care about fighting in the cage for ego reasons. I like to get paid for something I enjoy. But I'll tell you one fucking thing. You can't just live in a radius of me and run your fucking mouth and not expect for me to hit you in the face. We don't need to fight. That's fine. But I'm going to run into you at RBCA. He says, I'm going to see you in the parking lot and I'm going to walk up to you and smack you in the fucking face. And you seem like the kind of pussy that runs his fucking mouth and gets hit and then calls the cops. But you're such a smug, cocky motherfucker that I would probably take a misdemeanor charge just to smack you and watch your fucking head bounce off the ground. So again, we don't have to fight, but don't fucking run your mouth because I'm going to see you again. I'm going to smack you in the fucking face. End quote, AJ. Warranted, excessive, or just real deal consequence of, fucking with a street motherfucker. What do you think?
Talk shit, get hit, Derrick. That is the game. That is how real life is, man. You show up and there's a dude you've been talking shit about. That's what it is. That's what it is, man. The real life can't always escape people. And there's some times where your mouth has to answer. What's the old saying? Your ass can't cash checks at your mouth writes or whatever it is. That's the truth, man. Some people just like to run their mouth. And it does seem like Luke Rockhold is one of those sandal wearing, little fisherman shirt wearing frat boys that's going to call their dad because he's a lawyer and he's going to sue you after beating your ass. So, I think this is just life.
No,
life how it is, man. That's how it goes.
I'm with you, and that's why we like Sean Strickland. That's why we're a big fan of him on this platform, man, because there is sport, there's competition. Like Ciryl Gane said, he was like, this isn't personal for me, man. This is sport. This is like me playing football. You know what I mean? This is just another day at the office, right? And then there's the dudes who say, like, listen, man, I like to get paid when I fight, but that's not going to stop me from smacking the shit out of you when I see you, man, because at the end of the day, I'm not going to tolerate that level of disrespect. You know how to fight. I know how to fight. I'm not scared of you. You know how it goes. You know what I'm saying? So big message for Sean Strickland that throws a lot of heat on this rivalry because they're going to be facing up in the near future, man. They're facing off, and it'll be Luke Rockhold's first fight back since it's been a couple years now. I don't remember who his last fight was, but it did not end very well for Luke Rockhold. But with that being said, folks, that's the news wire, man. Just a couple of things, right? Good old money Chad Mendes and then some Sean Strickland shit talking. What more could you ask for, folks? But thank you for rocking with us. If you still tuned in, folks, drop a like, subscribe, all of that good stuff. You know where to find us. And like I mentioned earlier, AJ, this goes for, all of us involved here. There's no UFC next week, man. So we on a little bit of a hiatus. Might cover some Bellator, might not. Haven't really decided yet. But for the time being, folks, I hope that you miss us just as much as we're going to miss you, because we need a little bit of a rejuvenation, get set up a little bit more, and we right back at it. August 21st, we got Kelvin Gastelum facing off against Jared Cannonier, right? Oh, AJ, let me put you back. And you see the poster in the corner, folks. So that's a little preview to our poster score for, a couple of weeks from now. But I'll tell you what, man, a lot of fun fights on this one. And listen, we're back on the Fight Night trajectory leading up to UFC 266, my man. Can't wait for that one. But I think that's it for this week, folks. So like we always say, man, please comment below. Let us know what your questions are. All the good stuff. AJ, any last words for the people?
Man, hit us up with them comments, like, subscribe. You know the jazz, man. Give us. We love the love. You keep it coming. We'll be here getting good information. Best MMA show around. Make sure you leave a like, subscribe, all that good stuff, man. I love it.
I couldn't have said it better myself, folks. That's it for us. Until next time. Peace.